Hello, hello, hello there, everyone. It's coffee time. Yes, it's Patricia Hayes, and I am back. I know some of you thought I dropped off the face of the earth, right? I did not. Part of it was the scheduled summer break, which was definitely needed. And then the little bit additional time is simply because life started lifing, and we're going to talk about that. So I'm so excited to be back. And yeah, so if you are joining for the very first time, welcome. My name is Patricia Hayes. I am an executive advisor, a strategist, and empowerment coach. And welcome to Coffee Time that was started, my goodness, several years back now. And we have been going live or pre recorded for all of that time, twice a week or more. And I'm excited to kick off the fall season of Coffee Time, Career Chat, and, just catching up, quite frankly, right now, because there's just been so much going on. So, a quick catch up on me personally is that you all know we take a break during the summer months, mostly June and July, maybe a little bit of August normally, just to give my voice a rest, to allow some time to engage in some creative planning, and just honestly some family time, some downtime. And because it does take a lot to do this twice a week, which I had not ever acknowledged till you're not doing it anymore. And then the life started lifing part. Anybody who knows me knows I'm very active in my kids' lives, and my kids are not little, they're big. But my son plays football, and we're in the middle of recruiting season. So it has been a very, very intense summer with a lot of travel and moving around. And it just would not have been possible for me to put on a good quality show or conversation on a regular basis. So going back to the vault, as we like to call it, was always a great plan, and it worked out for sure this summer. And then things just got even more intense, right? With the beginning of the school year, I have two seniors, a senior in college and a senior in high school. So y'all are going to hear all about that in the coming months. If you don't want to hear it, you just should not listen, because there's always going to be some type of lesson that's learned from engaging in those things. As anyone knows me also knows, I like to say we are not flat Stanleys. We are multidimensional beings, and we need to absolutely acknowledge that while we are going down this professional path of also recognizing and remembering to engage in our personal lives as well. And that gets us to our conversation today about recognizing a shift in the seasons professionally. It has been going on all around me. It doesn't matter whether it's someone's professional career at their quote 9 to 5, or if it has been with entrepreneurs and small business folks that I know. I've been seeing a major shift. It's been going on for some months, but in the last 2, 3, 4 months, it's gotten really, really intense. And it's starting to show up for some of my clients as well, and in the professional realm. And it's just really interesting to be able to take a step back and kind of just watch it going on, and how that has even shown up in my own life sometimes, right? When I'm talking about this shifting and recognizing, you know what? Maybe I need a little bit more of a break than I realized, right? When you acknowledge before the burnout happens that you might be getting a little burned out, right? So there's that kind of shift. There's the shift of recognizing that what you were doing before doesn't work anymore. So it's time for something new, or a change, let's just say, whether it's new or it's just a change. And sometimes the change is to what you have done before. There's been a lot of that going on. We'll talk a little bit more about that. So we'll call that change to the quote old, but in a new way. And then sometimes it's just a flat old, it's time to move on. Um, Time to move on from where you are to get to the next level. And there are so many things to each one of those things, right? So we're going to take a little bit of time and talk about them a little bit here, and knowing that also in the coming months as we work through the fall season, just getting through this month, we're going to just keep going into looking at that reflection time piece about leading into the shifting and how shifting can be a growth opportunity, which it seems obvious, but people don't treat it that way. We're also always going to go back to networking on Wednesdays. This is not a networking conversation today, but we will return to that and looking for some new or revived content in that regard. And through the fall, where we'll talk about career development, we'll talk about leadership. And of course, we always get to a few challenges in there, especially that harvest time one, which I'm always excited about doing. And just really about diverse leadership, diversity in our professional networks, what that means and looks like today. So as usual, lots of things to chat about and always looking for your input. So back to this topic of recognizing a shift in the season professionally. One of the ones that, thank goodness, I personally am getting better about recognizing sooner, but it's still difficult to come to terms with in some ways because we want to just keep going. But that is the issue of burnout. When you are getting tired, and not just physically tired, but emotionally, mentally, and yet there's just this urge or this need to say, oh, but I got to keep going, right? And that's when we are pushing ourselves beyond what our bodies and our minds and things like that say we should be doing, and leads to serious burnout. I have been there, done that. I've talked about that in previous conversations. But what I will say right now is what also led to this extended time off for this summer, as far as it comes to developing content and even pulling back some of social media, is realizing when I was not enjoying the things I normally enjoy, even the simplest things that I normally enjoy about what I do, then it's time for a break, right? So we're not even talking about, oh, it's some big, huge thing that happened and it just really upset me. No, we're talking about, gosh, I gotta, I gotta think about ideas for coffee chat. Or gosh, I got to work through some more content on this topic. Those are not normally things that I have a problem with. I love doing this. I love public speaking. I love teaching. I love being creative and presenting new ideas, addressing new topics, all of that. So when you get tired, when I got tired and feeling like, I don't really feel like doing that, then that's when I knew it was time to continue the break until that spark came back, until that excitement came back, until real or recognizing it may be time to move on, which we'll talk about later. So that is one of those things that sometimes takes some experience to get to, and but we don't want to have too much experience in burning out. So sometimes what we have to do is learn how to listen to others, to be very observant of what's going on around you and inside of you. And what is it, calling an audible, just saying, you know what, it's time out, and let's see what's going on here. And we'll talk more in depth about the value of engaging in that reflection. We'll do that. We'll do some more of that next week, because uh, skipping that reflection can be just as harmful as pushing through the burnout, right? You have to give that yourself that time to really take a look and review and consider some things. Okay, so recognize that burnout when it starts to show up, not when it comes full blown. Right? Listen to what's going on within yourself and around you. How you are responding to things you normally love is absolutely a key factor. Okay, and give yourself the break that you need for however long you need to do it. That is normally the problem, especially for us type A people, ambitious, hard hitting. We don't ever want to pull back. But I will tell you from personal experiences, what you don't want is for it to take a toll on your health where it forces the conversation. So do it before you get to that point. All right. What about recognizing that shift when perhaps it's time for something new, or time for a change, right? This can again flow into maybe you're not enjoying the things you normally enjoy, but it's not because you're burned out. It's just maybe you're getting a little bored, or it's just not, it's not feeding you the way that it normally is. Whether it's the work that you're doing, your projects, whether it's something in your business, and so sometimes it could be that you need to try and or do something new. So that could be a whole like new job, or it could be you just need a change from your regular routine of what it is you're doing currently. So it may not automatically mean I'm like, oh, I got to go change my job. I am not telling you that. That is not what I'm saying. What I am saying is recognizing when you're getting bored, when you're getting a little frustrated about some things, and to going inside and doing that reflection to figure out what is really going on. Like, why are you feeling that? What's leading that those responses? What is it that causes it? Like, what's going on when those feelings and that um, stuff comes up. Okay. So sometimes, like I said, it doesn't mean you have to do something new. It just mean you need a change in your current environment. So maybe you need a new challenge. Maybe you need to ask for some additional or different responsibilities at work. Whatever that might be. Be creative is the thing I always say, and think outside the box. You don't have to flip the box completely over to go look for stuff, but see what you can do where you are to make that shift first, and see if that helps you before you go trying to quote change your whole life and routine, which is a whole other ball of wax, right? That's a whole different thing. So consider that when you're starting to feel that kind of way, whether there's just a need for a change, but maybe there's a need to do something different. Maybe it's time to explore a new piece of work or something that you hadn't thought about before. This includes entrepreneurs, right? We never fail for having a lot of ideas, but we have to focus them in order to start being successful. And so maybe what you need is to be able to step away and do engage in one of those ideas you hadn't before, and just kind of feed that and see where that goes. And then be able to return to what you were doing previously with renewed fever, I can't get the word out, with renewed energy. How about that? And be able to address that. The third thing that comes up about uh, is doing something, a change to the old in a new way. And that is like nuancy on what I just said, right? Because what I just said then is like, well, yeah, it's time for a change. It could be something completely new, or you go get something that you haven't spent as much time on and bring it to focus on. But here I'm talking about something you're already doing and have been doing, but maybe it's time to make the shift in it. Maybe it's time to explore how you can mold it and update it um, for today. for something you need today. So, for example, I am not saying I'm doing this, but it is something I had to consider, which is I do coffee chats. I've been doing coffee chats twice a week for years, right? One of the times when I realized that physically I could not maintain that at one point in time, I needed a break, but I didn't want to stop doing the coffee chats on the second day is when I not only had decided to split them out, focus on career development on one coffee chat, and then focus on networking specifically on Wednesdays, is I took a next step, which was to start pre recording my networking conversations so that they were fresh, they were new, but I wasn't having to do them live every week, right? So that was something I was already doing, but I'm doing it in a different way. Then there became another level to that where I was like, okay, that still means I'm creating 2 shows a week with new content for both. So then the next level of that was to go explore using previously done content. I've got years of it, y'all. And to start bringing it back to use in networking days on Wednesdays on coffee chats. That was the adjustment. Still doing the same thing, but making sure to present it in a different way, to repurpose all of these things that helped and helped me personally and professionally, gave me room and space to evolve, to grow, to rest when I needed it, but to change. And so, the question comes up again. It's like, well, is it time for an evolution of some kind again with coffee chat? I honestly don't know. I still love doing it, and it'll evolve over the coming months, I'm pretty sure. So that's that piece of recognizing when you need to say when, which we talked about when it came to burnout, but also recognizing that you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, that maybe you can do something where you are with what you're doing and shift it, mold it, repurpose it in a way that allows you to still meet the need, to still meet the goals that you have, while also giving you the space that you need to rest, to be creative, to explore other things, whatever that might be. Okay? So that's the third one. And the fourth one is the throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that's when it's just time to make a move and go to the next level. I see a lot of this going on, particularly with folks in the professional world, with clients, with old colleagues, where it's like, you know, I'm reading the tea leaves, I'm watching what's going on around me, and it's time to prepare to do something different. Or let's say you've got someone who's still trying to figure out what their next thing is, and recognizing I have to adjust that so that I can get to the next level and be ready for it when that time comes. So I've been seeing both, right? Where someone's in a position or situation and it's like, it's time to move on. I need to figure out what my exit strategy is. I've also seen where someone is like, I don't know that it's time to move on, but it's definitely time to explore. So that's a recent conversation I've had. And then a third situation is I'm already trying to prep for what the next level is going to be. And I'm realizing even as I do that, I need to adjust that plan as I'm moving, right? So there's so many aspects to it. And what I always encourage people, again, I know I'm a broken record on this, is engage in the reflection time. I literally just had this conversation with one of my clients recently when we realized, she had stopped journaling. So it means she wasn't getting all those thoughts that were rushing through her head out onto paper and giving herself some room to breathe. And I encourage you to do that. I have to do it still. It's always a good practice, if nothing else, to just get the ideas out of your head, to maybe find an accountability partner to chat about what's going on and put it out there, that reflection can show up in different ways, right? The point is to not just engage in the conversation within yourself, but to make it external, whether it's with another person who can objectively, have in conversation, be accountable, you can be accountable to, whether it's just in the journaling. And you may say, well, that's not really outside of yourself. It really is. When you start writing out things and putting it on paper, it makes it real, and it allows you also to come back to it when you're maybe in a completely different state of mind, and to look at that and say, wow, I didn't realize I was really at that point. Or I'm so glad I wrote that down. I never would have considered that currently. Okay. So there is value, so much value to engaging in reflection, and doing it on a regular basis. Don't wait until it's crisis time to do it, y'all. That is the worst time to do it, because we don't always make the best decisions when we're faced with the crisis situation. We make those decisions under pressure. So if have engaged in reflection ahead of time, though, those when you get to that point of having to go ahead and make a decision that's under pressure, because it does happen. It's not one that you're feeling like you're being, what's the word? Uh, uh, Reactive to. That's what I'm looking for. You're not reacting in your response. You're doing it with some level of clarity because you've already given some thought to it. Okay. So those are just some of the no, four things about recognizing a shift in the season professionally, whether you are working a 9 to 5 or whether you are out here on your own, consulting, owning a business, running a business, whatever it is. Number one, recognize the signs of burnout. There's lots of stuff out there on burnout. Um, I invite you to go engage and take a look at some of it. Recognizing when it's time for something new or a shift or a change, in what you're doing. When you want to change the old in a new way, right? You don't want to completely, overhaul things, but maybe you just need to look at what you're doing currently through fresh eyes. And then there's the ultimate, it's just time to move on and get to the next level. And what do you need to do to make that happen? So, those are all things that happen in seasons, and happen in shifts. I'm seeing a lot of it right now. I would love to hear from you if you identify with any of these things. Would love to get your input, hear some things, see what we can do. Reach out if you need some support. Happy to do that. And so excited to be back with Coffee Chat. Let me know what's going on with you all, and I'll look forward to seeing you next Monday. Take care. Bye bye.